Sell your birth certificate.
I need quick cash now. Okay, so what do I need to do to get this quick cash? Because I'm fed up with how things are going. I'm ready to leave the system. Who do I turn it into?
Well, basically my understanding is that your birth certificate has value and you can redeem it and take it back from the ownership of the government for cash.
So this isn't for like people to steal my identity or for like Russian hackers to gain access to my information. This is like a legitimate thing you can do. I don't even use my birth certificate. I don't need it. I don't know when I'm gonna need it in the future. So like, how do I cash this in and get the money? And how much money do I get?
So that's a great question, and I completely agree. I've never even seen my birth certificate. I don't even know where it is. But from my understanding, you can get anywhere between $30,000 and $7 million.
$7 million? Does this depend on who you are?
It depends on who you are, and it depends how much you spend. So basically this right here is not a certificate of birth. You are the certificate of birth. You're alive. You're a living being thing.
Aw, thank you.
You're welcome. This is essentially a separation of you, Lucy Blihar, the living being thing, from
the mammal.
You, Lucy Blihar,
the data.
Capital entity, money spending data within our system.
So it's basically like when you download an app and you just click through all the terms and conditions without reading it. Like that's what happens when we're given a birth certificate as an infant.
Yeah, our parents hand over us, they take our handprints, they take our footprints, they take our weight, and then they say, here's your birth certificate, look, you had a child. And our parents are like, wow, we had a child, look at our birth certificate. But really they have the child. That's all you need is the child.
But now like the child can be tracked for life.
Yeah, it's a trick. It's a trick. And there's a term called a straw man that I think we should probably define.
Okay, tell me more about that. That sounds a little bit creepy.
So here's a picture of a straw man.
I don't like it.
I don't like it either. Basically, a straw man is the corporate definition of you as a person.
As a living, breathing person.
Because like a scarecrow.
They're saying that us as human beings have no real content or value.
So basically, we as human beings, as living, breathing, real flesh and blood human beings, we have a ton of value. But under common law, which is basic laws under the original Constitution, we are not allowed to be tried in a system as a living, breathing thing. So the government said, we need to find a way to get around this. So we need to trick everyone into thinking that they are separate from what they really are.
So a birth certificate is a loophole?
A birth certificate is kind of a loophole.
In common law?
In common law. Yeah, and we all just sort of fall for it because they use the same name. But what they aren't doing is they're not actually using the same name because it's in all capital letters. And that's why there's an emphasis on capital letters, and capital means money. So all proper nouns typically have the first letter of the word capitalized. If you get any document from the government, it's gonna have your name in all capitals because it's a different version of you. And so you see your name and then you fall for it because you say, oh, it's in all caps, this must be serious. But really, they're kind of giving you a hint like, hey, pay attention, this isn't actually you.
So if I exist separately from the entity that the government created of me, does that mean that I don't have to pay taxes?
I think it does. And I think it also means that any taxes you did pay, you can get back. So this straw man birth certificate, Lucy Blihar, is the only thing that can be taxed. It's against common law to view you as a living thing as a taxable entity.
So the one with capital letters, the Lucy Blihar with capital letters, is the only one who can be taxed?
Yeah.
Then next year she can pay her own taxes. I'm not paying them.
And she's not even real.
Okay, so not paying taxes is great, but if we opt out of the system, does that mean we can no longer vote? Like we can no longer rent property or buy property? Like, is it kind of a pay-to-play situation?
So I think what happened was this creation of us as legal entities made our government more of a banking government rather than a people's government. So you're right in the sense you wouldn't be able to get credit. I don't think you'd be able to vote, but you would still be able to participate in private business. So essentially anyone who wants your money, you could give it to them. So let's say you take your birth certificate back and you get $3 million. Now you're sitting on $3 million. You can go to Montana, you can find a farmer and say, hey, I want to buy your land. You can get their land. But yeah, you probably can't get loans because that's the banking system.
Yeah, you probably can't have a credit card. Okay, so are there people who have done this and what are they doing now?
Yeah, there are people who have done this. Yesterday I found a 2,000-page book on how to completely leave the system and reclaim your live birth. I have seen plentiful YouTube videos of people winning court cases is by claiming that they're still alive. There's a video of this guy. I'm not sure what he's tried for. Again, you can't break common law. Common law is like, don't kill people, don't steal something that's definitely not yours. That's all still illegal.
Makes sense.
These banking corporate laws, supposedly you can break. So there's this guy in court and he's being tried, and he's being very patient with the judge. And every time she says something, he's like, well, actually, you can't say that because I'm alive. I'm a living being entity, part of the universe. I'm not a corporation. I'm not a corpse. I'm not dead. Eventually, she's so flustered, and you can kind of feel that she's like aware that he's onto something, that she leaves the courtroom. She's like, give me a minute, I'll be right back. And she leaves. And when she leaves, he's like, okay, the session is over. If the judge leaves the courtroom, that means that it's closed, and he and his whole team get to leave. And there's other videos of this, like there's a guy filming inside of a government building, and a security guard and a policeman come up to him and they start saying he's breaking the law, and he's like, no, you guys are only policy enforcers. The law doesn't apply to me because I'm still alive. I've sold my live birth and I'm no longer part of your system, so you can only be a policymaker. And then they're like, okay, well, the policy of the building is that you can't film in here. And it's really interesting because I'm solely going off of these people's expressions, but it really looks to me like they know that what he's saying is true. To tell you the truth, from what I've learned, I think it would be a lot more work to do this, and you'd have to really be prepared for every single conversation. And I think a lot of police officers and people you run into wouldn't even know the truth. So you'd end up going to court a lot. You might end up going to jail a lot. You'd theoretically be able to get out of it every time. But it might be easier to just go to work with your briefcase and your Starbucks. Yeah.
Okay, I'm convinced that this is a real thing you can do, but personally, it seems like